Hello and welcome to part 3 of our 10-part mini-series. And today what this step's all about is cash flow. So we're going to get down to the nuts and bolts of cash flow on a specific property investment that I've purchased and the key things that I look for. But from step 2, we quickly figured out that our purpose of going down the path of property investment is to eventually achieve a passive income. Now, to achieve the level of passive income that we want to be financially free, we need quite a large amount of net assets to achieve that passive income. So if property is the path that you've chosen to go down to achieve that net asset target, there's 2 really important things you need to understand before you embark down any property investment path. The 2 key factors you need to achieve from any property investment, number 1 and most important, without a doubt, is capital growth. Now, what capital growth means is your property growing in value over time. Now, let me assure you that capital growth is the best wealth generating aspect of property investment. The way you make your most money from property investment is by investing in properties that are growing the quickest and the best rate. But what's second to capital growth, and what's very important also to make sure that it's very easy to hold each and every single property, is cash flow. Now, in today's market, a good property investment, each and every single one, should cash flow itself from day one. Now, to achieve a cash flow that is self-sufficient, cash flowing itself, a very easy property investment to hold, there are a few key things that you need to look at for each and every single property investment and make sure that each property has those key factors. Now, what I'm going to do today is take you through the exact cash flow on a property investment that I've purchased and show you the key factors that I'm focusing on for not only this property that I've purchased, but for each and every single property that I've purchased to make sure that it's going to be a very easy property for me to hold. I'm going to take you through those numbers, itemised one by one to show you exactly what that cash flow looks like and what we need to be focusing on each and every point. Okay, so what we've got here is an itemised cash flow. Now, what we've got here is a property, a house that I've recently purchased, and what we want to look at is the cash flow that this property's generated over the past 12 months. So we've got the property that I purchased, it was $515,000. It's this house that you can see down here. Now, the first thing I needed to purchase that property was a deposit. Now, I used a 10% deposit here, which was $51,500, and I also covered the costs with cash as well. Now, the main costs with a property investment is going to be the stamp duty and the legals, okay? So I covered both of those with cash, which means the loan amount on this particular property for me started at $463,500. The first thing we need to make sure we're achieving with a property investment, this is the first factor we need to focus on, is that it's achieving a solid rental yield. Now, this is the type of level that we look at. If we're purchasing a property for $515,000, the key factor we're focusing on is achieving about $515 rent per week. So you can see this property here is achieving more than that rent per week, which is ideal. Now, $530 of rent per week means that I achieved $27,560 of rent in that 12-month period. It'd be great if it stopped there, but unfortunately it doesn't. A property investment is also going to have costs. Now, the first cost and the biggest cost without a doubt is the interest expense. Now, what I'm using here to keep the numbers easy is that it's an interest-only arrangement, and what I've used is a 5% interest expense, which is slightly above where the interest rates are currently sitting at the moment. But it's important to be conservative with the numbers that you use in these cash flow reports. So 5% as an interest rate on the loan there means that it costs $23,175 of interest per year. Be great if it stopped there, but it doesn't. There's further expenses with property as well. Now, the first one is a property manager. Now, it's very important to have a good property manager in place. They make owning a property investment very easy if they are a good manager. Now, in this case here, I'm paying 7% as an expense for my property manager. So 7% of my rent will go to them, which is $1,900.29 per year. Also, insurance. Now, this particular property, as you can see, is a house. So the insurance is $970 on this property. Now, there's rates, water and council, which cost me $3,400 for the year. And in this case here, body corporate is $0 because, as I mentioned, it is a house. So the insurance is quite high there compared to if it was an apartment or a townhouse. It would be much lower insurance, but an apartment or a townhouse would also have a body corporate expense to factor in here. So far we've got the income of $27K, taking away the costs here, leaves me out of pocket per year $1,900. Now, The good thing about the Australian taxation system, and it's one of the best in the world for property investors to take advantage of, is that the cash flow doesn't stop there. Yes, this property has cost me $1,900 to hold per year, which isn't too bad. It's not going to really affect my lifestyle. But what I can do is actually use that $1,900 to claim in my tax return, and I'm going to save a bit of tax by doing this. This is called negative gearing. But negative gearing isn't the best strategy in the world, because here I'm spending $1,900 and I'm going to get some tax back, but I'm still going to be out of pocket some money. So that's not what we want to focus on here. But negative gearing doesn't make sense at this point, but it does make sense when we start to focus on utilizing something called depreciation. Now, depreciation, you're able to depreciate both the fittings and the building itself. So depreciation of the fittings and the build, you can see here I'm able to claim $4,250 of fittings, $6,250 of the build depreciating per year. Now, it's important to mention here that at the moment, the depreciation on fittings is only applicable if the property is brand new. Now, as I purchased this house brand new, I was able to utilize the depreciation on fittings as well. If you buy a property that's even 1 year old now, you're unable to claim that depreciation on the fittings immediately. So here what I've got is around, you can see here, $10,500, which is both of these depreciation claims put together. Now, the real key benefit of these claims here, this $10,000, is that it's not actually money that was out of my pocket. I didn't actually go and spend that money. That's why it's called here, as you can see, a non-cash deduction. Now here is where negative gearing does make a lot of sense, and it is a very smart strategy, because here I've got $10,000 that I literally write on paper and put in my tax return. So here I've spent nothing, but when I do my tax return, I'm going to save the tax on that amount of money there, on $10,000. So here it does make a lot of sense, because you've now got cash flow coming back to you with none that actually left. So if you total these deductions up, the pre-tax, take away the depreciation as well, you can see this property here has got deductions which I can claim of $8,586 in my tax return. Now, here what we're going to assume is that an individual earning $75,000 per year, they can now reduce their income by $8,586. So they're not going to pay taxes if they earn $75K anymore. They're going to write it down by $8K. Now, an individual earning $75,000, that would actually result in a tax saving for them of $2,780. So here you can see you've got a pre-tax cash flow that was negative, $1,900 per year. But now we've got this big tax saving coming through, which actually puts the property into a positive scenario, a positive $866 per year. So as you can see here, this property has actually cost me nothing per year to hold. It has actually been positive overall. Now, as I mentioned, the main thing that we want to achieve from our property investment is maximizing the capital growth that it achieves over time. That is the main growth factor and wealth accumulation factor that a property will do. But it's very important that each property achieves a strong cash flow. Now, the reason that this particular property achieves a strong cash flow is, first of all, it's achieving a strong rent. We need to make sure that's in place. Also, you can see I've not factored in repairs and maintenance for this property, because it cost me nothing to hold this property from a repairs and maintenance perspective. One of the key reasons for that is that it's a modern, a brand new property. So a lot of the expenses that would have been incurred are under warranties and are covered, not out of my pocket. So that's one of the key benefits to really reduce that risk to repairs and maintenance. And also depreciation here, this benefit is maximised because the property is brand new. Now, what you'll find, the way depreciation works is that the biggest depreciation claims are in the first years of the property's life, and they diminish very quickly over 5 years, over 10 years, and there's basically not a whole lot left after that, especially in relation to fittings. So to achieve a very strong cash flow, we need to make sure we're factoring in those things and making sure that it's going to be a very easy property to cash flow and a very easy property to have in a portfolio. Because if we're looking at holding 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 properties over time, we need to really make sure that they're going to cash flow themselves and not dramatically impact our lifestyle to build a property portfolio over time. So I hope that makes sense. I am aware there's a whole lot of numbers to go through there, but it's important to make sure these factors are in place, because before embarking on any path and going down the path of investing in any property, we need to understand these ins and outs for that direct property investment before we make the decision to go ahead with that.